two processors over here. One of them is the Ryzen 5900X 12-core processor and the Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core processor. Now, the 16-core processor costs £250, euros more. The big question is, as a creator, photo editor, video editor, or so on, is the £250 worth the extra cash? Or how much is the difference? Like what's the actual difference? Let's talk about real world. What's the difference right after this?
Are you sick of seeing activate Windows message on your desktop? Well, it's time to activate your Windows and do it cheap. Go on to whokeys.com where you can find official license keys. If you're looking for Windows 10 Pro key, for example, then all you have to do is search for Windows 10 Pro, select the license and add it to the basket. Use the code TN20 to get a 20% discount. Once you have the license key on your email, click here, type in your license key, hit activate, and you're all done. Check out whokeys.com in the description below, and don't forget to use the code TN20 to get a 20% discount.
So if you're a gamer and you're wondering the difference, then this is not the right video for you. This is exactly focused for creators. If you're a creator, this is exactly for you. Now, in terms of the specs, I'm sure everyone can read the specs online, so I'm not going to go so much into the specs. But if you're interested in the exact configurations of and the specifications of these processors, I'm going to leave affiliate links in the description below if you want to check them out. But most importantly, the performance difference. Let's talk about what's the actual difference. It's also important to keep in mind that the price difference. The 5950X is roughly around $700 to $750 a pound, something like that, and the 5900X is $450. So the $250 difference there is a huge difference. If 5900X is the baseline, then the 5950X is almost 50% more expensive, which is crazy. So let's talk about the performance difference. I'm going to go through some creative applications over here, but if you want to dive a little bit deeper, I'm going to leave the article below as well, and check out some of the other videos that I've made on the channel where you can actually see different PCs that have been built with these processors and how they perform. But most importantly, when we're looking at Photoshop difference, like in Photoshop, what is the actual difference? Then the 5950X is 3% better. Only 3, that's it. So basically, if you just have these two processors side by side, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between 3% difference. Naturally, you won't recognize that. But the difference is a little bit more when we're exporting those things. It's just overall difference is 3. When you're exporting photos, then the 59 or 16 core processor is a bit better. In Lightroom Classics, for example, the 5900X, the cheaper processor, 12 core processor, is actually 3% faster, and the 16 core is 3% slower, whichever way you want to put it. In After Effects, the 16 core is 2% faster. In Premiere Pro overall performance, it's 4% faster, and the biggest difference that I can see is in DaVinci Resolve. If you're editing there, it is 6% faster than the 12-core processor. So basically, the difference is only in the rendering performance. If you're doing a lot of video exporting and photo exporting and rendering where it has to put a lot of things together, then the more cores you have, it is better. In terms of actually editing and working on your photos, the actual 5900X is going to be as good, and in some of the applications even better. So if you look deeper into Lightroom and Photoshop, you can see that in often the cases, most of the applications can't use a lot of cores at the same time. That's why it makes the 16 core a little bit slower, because the lower core performance actually is better. It just works better because it utilizes the processor better. It just works in the end out faster. Now, in terms of the editing performance, so if you're a video editor and you're wondering okay, I'm just working on videos all the time, what is the actual difference? Basically, in live performance difference, in live playback, I didn't see a difference at all. Now, I did the test on the 5950X with the best GPU there as well, the 3090, and the 5900X with 3070, and honestly, the live playback performance on both of these chips, you can check them out on my channel, the videos are out there, check them out. They just they're identical. I can't tell the difference. Now, if I really want to split the hair, then I do have to say that the 16 core is slightly better in playing back very, very complex codecs where, for example, there's a hardware acceleration, for example, like a 422 in Premiere Pro, or 8K, or like something like that, where it's really, really ridiculous codecs. Then the 16 core has a little bit of an edge because it just has a little bit, you know, the muscles are a little bit bigger. But generally, like 6K and less codecs, I didn't see a difference, which makes me super impressed with the 5900X, how good of a processor that is. In fact, in my personal editing station over there, I am running the previous generation 16-core processor, the 3950X, and that processor is actually slower than the 12-core 5900X. So the 12-core processor performs better, is faster and cheaper than the previous 16-core chip, which is just absolutely mind-bogglingly awesome. In terms of everyday task performance, like if you're doing a lot of different tasks and browsing the web, you know, like as a creator, you know, you do everything. You have to do everything in order to survive. Then the 16-core chip has a slight more edge, just because if you do tons of multitasking, like your videos rendering while you're editing the thumbnail, and you're also working on some After Effects at the same time while browsing the web, while doing some other things, then actually the 16-core chip has more kind of oomph to it. And that might be like one of the biggest deal breakers for you if you are choosing between those two chips, just because the multitasking is a little bit more there on the 16-core chip. Another thing worth mentioning is the cooling. Now, if you look at the AMD site and a lot of different sites, they recommend that, oh, these Ryzen 9s should be cooled with a liquid cooler, AIOs or something like that, rather than air cooler. And honestly, that is not the truth at all. You can easily air cool these chips because they run very, very nice and cool. If you come from Intel and you know that your i9, even if it's rated 125, you know, watts TDP, and it pulls like whatever, almost double that, then this is not true of these Ryzen chips. Like the most I can see those pull is about 135, 140 watts, especially if you don't have the Precision Boost Overdrive on. These chips are very, very power efficient, running at that like low of power, and they're super cool. So if you have like a beefy air cooler like the Dark Rock from Be Quiet, or Noctuas, some of the dual towers NHD 15s or something like that, they cool both of these chips very, very well. So we put the 16 core on the air cooling as the Noctua cooler, and it was running super like cool. We had like a Cinebench full on like rendering 100% utilization of the CPU, and we were in the 70s, which is very, very good for air cooling. Now the 5900X runs a little bit cooler, but really they're not that much of a difference how cool they run, which actually makes the 16 core very impressive, because even though having like 4 more extra cores and 8 extra threads, it's not running that much hotter. It runs pretty much the same. But if you have like a good 360 millimeter AIO, like an Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 or the Deep Cool Castle EX coolers, I had amazing performance from the Castle EX. If you check out the best bang for buck creators PC of 2021, that's on my channel, you can see we used like one of the white Castle EX 360mm AIOs, and I am so impressed how cool it kept the 5900X. Like at full-on utilization, it's just not even ramping up, because it just keeps it so cool so well. That was just amazing. So hopefully this video helped you to understand and decide a little bit of the difference between these two chips, especially for creators, and what is the difference and whether you should be going with one or the other. In my opinion, 95% of the people are super happy with the 5900X CPU, and it's going to perform super well. Now, if you want a little bit of the extra and you don't mind paying the £250 extra, then the 16 core is the best of the class, like what you can get right now. It's amazing. Don't be afraid that 5900X performs like 95% there as this performance, and you're not going to see a difference if you're just working all the time on your projects. It's going to be awesome. So my friends, if you have any other questions or anything else you want to add, I'll meet you in the comment section below. As always, hit the like button. It actually makes a difference. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. If you're interested in picking any of these up, I'm going to leave the links in the description below. Thanks guys for watching. Bye bye.